In this video today, I'm going to show you how quick and easy it can be to program or code and then backtest a trading strategy using MultiCharts. MultiCharts is a trading and backtesting platform, and it's the one I've been using since 2016. The strategy that we're going to program and look at is a profitable one, which always helps, and it uses the Relative Strength Index, or RSI, for entry signals, and it trades off of the daily charts for the S&P 500 or the E-mini. The strategy was created and then documented by Larry Connors and Cesar Alvarez, and it's in their book. You can find it if you want to read more short-term trading strategies that work. I don't have the physical copy here to show you because I have the ebook. Once I've actually programmed or coded the strategy into MultiCharts, I can then run a back test on it. So using previous data to see how it performed in the past. And then once I've done that, as a bonus, I'm going to show you how to use the optimization feature within MultiCharts. And what that does is that allows me to optimize or check for the best inputs or parameters for the strategy. And more will become clear when we look at the actual rules for the strategy. But Larry Connors actually suggests different inputs, so we can test those out and see which one works best for our trading objectives. Those of you who are regular viewers of the channel know that this strategy has been covered quite a few times, and I've made quite a few adjustments to this strategy. However, in today's video, we're just using the basic strategy. This video is all about the actual programming of it into MultiCharts. So first off, I want to just discuss the actual rules in plain English, and then I'll show you how to transfer that into code. This strategy has 4 rules. I've already mentioned that we're looking at a daily chart of the S&P 500, and the 4 rules are: number 1 is the closing price on that daily bar has to be above its 200 period moving average, and that kind of suggests that we're in an overall longer term uptrend. The next rule is we look at the RSI, and we actually change the RSI from its standard length of 14, change it to 2, make it a very fast RSI. And we want to see that on the close of the bar, the RSI has crossed below the level of 5. So on the previous bar, it may have been at a level of 8, and on this bar, when it's just closed, it might be at a level of 4. So that's our second rule. And the third rule is, once those first 2 rules are in place, we buy on the close of the bar. Once we're in a trade, we've got the exit, which is going to be our 4th rule to the strategy. And that is simply, we want to see the daily bar closing above its 5 period moving average. And as soon as it's closed, we want to exit the trade. It's a long only strategy with those 4 simple rules. Now I'll take you over to the whiteboard and I'll transfer those plain English rules into the code that MultiCharts uses. I've already written out the working code on the whiteboard just to save us time, because I do want to spend a little bit of time over at the computer. Now, actually, before we get into the rules, then I must say I'm not a programmer. I don't come from a programming background. However, I have used MultiCharts, and this is in Powerlanguage format. I have been using that since 2016, and I've been thinking up loads of different weird and wonderful trading strategies and getting them from my head into code, into MultiCharts, which works for a backtest, works for live trading. I'm sure there are far better ways to program, probably faster code than what I use. So if you are an expert programmer, especially in Powerlanguage or Easylanguage, please don't slate the way that I do it. So rule number 1, we wanted to see that the close was above its 200 period moving average for that longer term uptrend. So we're saying if the closing price, if the close is above the average, and then in brackets we've got close, it's the average of the closing prices, that's how the moving average works, and 200 is the length, so comma 200, close brackets, then begin. So that line is saying if the close is above that 200 period moving average, then we can move forward with the rest of the code. In the next line, we're saying if the RSI, this is a built-in function of MultiCharts, it knows what RSI is and how to calculate it. And it's just saying calculate the RSI on the close, and comma 2, that's the length of the RSI. Remember I said standard's 14, we're using a faster one for 2 period. So if the RSI, or 2 period, crosses below 5, 5 was our level that we're going to enter on, then buy this bar at the close, and that's our entry order, and then we end. So this is saying if this, then begin, do this, end, that's it. Now we're in a trade. Okay, so now we're in a trade. We're on to our fourth rule. If the close is above the average, close comma 5 this time, this is our 5 period moving average, then sell this bar at the close, and that is it. That's our 4 rules entered in Powerlanguage for MultiCharts. That will work, and that's the basic code and the basic strategy that we're going to use. What we do now is we go over to the MultiCharts platform, and I'll paste this code into the Powerlanguage editor, which is where we write the code, and then apply it to the chart and run the backtest and the optimizations. Just before I do that though, Larry wrote out the rules in his book, Short-Term Trading Strategies That Work, and he wrote out that when these rules were true, he wanted to buy the bar on the close. However, I find this is more for backtesting purposes, because once the bar is closed, then the market's going to be shut, so you can't actually buy. So in the real-time code, I will actually use buy next bar at market. So we won't be buying at the close, we'll be buying at the open of the next bar. And I've tested both, and it doesn't make a massive difference. Okay, and it's the same with the exit. Rather than sell this bar at close, it's going to be sell next bar at market. We can actually get really specific with MultiCharts and say sell next bar at 2300 hours. We can say exactly what time we want to sell, but just for this strategy on the daily chart, we're going to leave it like this. Okay, so let's go over to the computer and have a look. We're in MultiCharts with a blank workspace. So the first thing we need to do is open the Powerlanguage editor. This is the Powerlanguage editor where we create our codes or signals. Now, to save time, I've actually created the code. I've put it in. And to do that, you just File, New. We use signal, which is a strategy. If it was an indicator, we'd use an indicator, but it's not, it's a signal. OK, then you name it, and then you'll have a blank sheet here. I've written in here, when we got this double / and anything in green, MultiCharts just ignores. Now, therefore our comments. So I've just put demonstrating Connor's RSI 2 strategy on the daily chart of the S&P 500. Now, the only extra that I've actually put in on this code is I've got this line of inputs. Now, inputs are numbers that we can actually adjust when we're on the chart, and we can optimize as well. So I'll just quickly explain. So if you remember, again, we've got a comment here, entry, a comment here for the exit. If the close is above the moving average 200, then begin. If RSI close 2 period RSI crosses below. Now, this is where we're using the level of 5. However, I've used it as an input, and at the moment, oversold level is what I'm called it, and oversold level is equal to 5 at the moment. We can adjust that once we're in the chart or in the strategy. Then buy next bar at market, end. And we've got if close is above the average of the MA exit length, I've called it, so moving average exit length, and at the moment I've got it as 5 because that's what Connor's said, but we can actually adjust that or optimize. We can optimize both of these levels to see which is best. Once that's done, we hit this button here, which is called compile, and that makes sure that code is ready to go and that there's no errors in the code. If there are errors in the code, then it will show us on what line, and we can go about making it right. Now we need to get back over to MultiCharts. We've got a blank workspace. We need to insert a chart. So we're going to use the SPX 500. This is the CFD from Oanda, and so we've selected that. We look at the settings. We've got 1440 minute chart or 1 day. That's the same for this market, and we're going to look at data from 1st of 1st 2005 up until the beginning of August 2021. So, and now that's populated our data on the chart. The next thing we need to do is insert that strategy into the chart that I've just created. So the way we do that is right click the chart, insert a study. Now We've got indicators, signals, add-ons. In fact, what I'll do first, let's put the indicators on the chart so we can see that the strategy is working correctly. So let's put, first of all, that 200 period moving average on the chart. So there's our 200 period moving average on the chart. Now let's put the 5 period moving average on the chart. And there's our 5. Let's change the colour of that. Let's make that red. So that's going to be our exit moving average, and let's put RSI on there as well. And we need to change the length to 2 periods, and let's change that oversold level to 5 because that's what we're using to start with. So there we go, there's RSI. So if we scroll along, we can see a couple of points here where it dipped below 5, and you'll notice that the RSI actually, the line actually turns cyan once it dips below that 5 level. So if we were to have the strategy on, these would be our buying points on the chart. So let's insert that study now, or that strategy or signal that we've just created. So select signal, and remember what we've called it. We've called it JG, Demo Connors RSI2 code. So there's the code, select that, and this is where we get to change our inputs. At the moment we're going to leave the RSI oversold level and the moving average for the exit both at 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the currency of the SPX instrument. I'm going to actually leave it as none, so the results we see are actually going to be in points. So if we see a trade that's worth 40, what it's going to be is 40 points. I'm going to change the shares or the contracts just to 1 contract. And the last thing I need to do is just change the maximum number of bars that MultiCharts will reference. I need to change that to 200 because we're using a 200 period moving average. And there you go, there's the strategy. And you can see the trades on the chart. You can see down here, let's just take that off. We can see where the RSI has dipped below 5 and turned cyan. We've got our buys. And closing above that red moving average here, which is the 5 period, which is the exit. Again, another one here, and exit straight away. Another one here, exit straight away. If I scroll back, we can see all of the trades. Notice how we didn't get any trades for this signal here because the closing price, looking at the price bar, is below this 200 period moving average. Okay, remember that was our rule number 1. Again here, look, we haven't got any entries because the price was below the 200 period moving average. So we can see all the trades again, look, more trades that weren't taken because it was below that 200 moving average. So now we've got the trades on the chart, we're happy with our entries, we're happy that the code is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and we can now look at the backtest report. We can see that over that period it's made 528 points. We can see that's the equity curve. Let's show a close to close equity curve, and it's actually working very well, isn't it? Still, after all these years that Larry Connors first actually published this idea, it's still working very well. And if you are a viewer of my channel, you'd recognize these trade reports or the performance report from other videos. Percent profitable, 70% at the moment. The average trade of 11 points. We can look at the annual period analysis, see how it's worked over those years, and over all those years we can see that we've only had 3 of them have been losing years. we're actually starting in 2006. I probably have only got data loaded on the chart actually from 2006. So that's the strategy programmed. It's compiled with no errors. We've opened the chart window, the daily chart of the S&P 500, and we've applied the indicators. We don't need to apply the indicators like the moving average and the RSI for the strategy to work. I just applied them so we can see. We've applied the signal, the strategy, and we've been able to run the backtest once we were happy that the strategy was doing what it was supposed to be doing. Now, let's have a look at optimizing those inputs that I made inputs so that we can adjust them. We'll first have a look at the oversold level of the RSI. Remember, currently we're using 5. It's a really extreme oversold level, but maybe there's a better level. So let's have a look at running an optimization on that level. So it's quite simple. We just need to hit the optimize strategy button. There's a few different buttons that do the same thing within MultiCharts. We're going to do a regular optimization, and we're going to deselect both of these because at the moment we only want to optimize the oversold level of 5. And I don't think we want to go any lower than 5 because we really will reduce the trades. We can start at 1, but just for this test I'm going to stay at 5 and maybe go up to as high as 25. And we can go in steps of 1, so it will go 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. But I think that's optimizing at too fine a point. So we're going to go into steps of 5. So we're going to actually get 5 results. We're going to get the results from 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. So let's run that optimization. It will take a few seconds. So we can see the results. This is our input that we've used and results from 5, 10, 15, etc. We've already seen these results. Net profit 528 and percent profitable 70%. But look how the net profit increases as the level goes up, so the entries aren't as strict. And look at the amount of trades that go up as we slacken off the entry criteria. The average trade does come down a little bit, but not drastically. So looking at a level of around 20, the average trade is still reasonably high. The percent profitable is actually better than using 5. The max intraday drawdown is slightly higher, but we are making pretty much 3 times the overall profit. We're taking over 3 times the amount of trades. We're taking 180 trades rather than 47 trades. So we can actually select this and check to see how it works. So now we've selected it. See, look at all these much more trades. So now let's have a look at the backtest report. We've only got 2 losing years now. We already know that the net profit is just over 1,600 points. And there's the equity curve. The equity curve looks really quite good, doesn't it? So the next thing that we can optimize is this 5 period moving average for the exit. That might not be the best one. So let's have a look at optimizing that now. We'll leave the oversold level as 20 and we'll optimize this moving average. And we'll go from 5 to, let's say, let's go to 50 in steps of 5. So now we've got 10 results. And here's the results from 5 through to 50. And in terms of net profit, we can see that the best is using 25 period moving average, and the average trade is slightly higher. Percent profitable is way lower. Look at that compared to using the 5. We're really trying to hold on to these trades now. But just for demonstration purposes, let's select this and see what it looks like on the chart and on the performance report. Obviously we're disregarding this red line now because this is a 5 period moving average. So look at the performance report, and the equity curve does actually look quite nice, doesn't it? Very flat right up until 2013 though. We've already seen that its percent profitable is way lower, and it's probably not something that I would want to be trading. I actually like a much higher winning percentage, but we are making more overall net profit. But this video is all about how to get the strategy coded and a quick demonstration of how optimizations work. I don't recommend that you use these inputs that I've just looked at, but it's just a demonstration. Once we're actually happy with our strategy and our inputs, we can literally just connect MultiCharts to our broker. I use Interactive Brokers and LMAX. There's many brokers that you can use. And then we can literally, at the click of a button, just turn on live trading. So MultiCharts will monitor, and as soon as the signals for the strategy come along, it will place the trades automatically. And that's how 100% of my trading is done these days, automated using MultiCharts. As I start to conclude this video then, one thing I do want to mention, and one thing you've probably noticed from that strategy and that code, is there's no stop loss. Now, Connor's has a whole chapter all about stop losses, and he doesn't include a stop loss with this strategy because he's noticed that stop losses on this type of strategy, this sort of mean reversion strategy, stop losses do just hurt the performance. But if it was me, I'd be using a stop loss. I always like to use stop losses, and the sacrifice for a decrease in performance is worth it for me to know whereabouts my maximum risk for each strategy is. So just thought I'd say that. That's why we haven't included a stop loss in this strategy. So that's about all there is to it. We've taken the plain English rules for this strategy and I've broken them down for you and showed you how to program them into MultiCharts. Once programmed, we've applied them to a chart to run a backtest, and then if we're happy, if we want to actually trade the strategy, we can then switch it on to have it trade automatically. And it wasn't all that hard, was it? Granted, this strategy is about as easy as they get. However, even with more difficult, more complicated strategies, if you know the rules and you can break them down line by line or rule by rule, then you can work away and get them into MultiCharts working piece by piece. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions about MultiCharts or programming MultiCharts, then please leave them in the comments below or email me, jared@thetransparenttrader.com. But until the next video, this is Jared Goodwin, and thank you